Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 most feared characters in the Mortal Kombat universe. Now for this video I'm going to be taking into account both timelines, as there's a lot that goes on in there, and use them as references if such character has displayed their power. We'll also be taking into account why that certain character is feared, including the kind of things they have done. Now some characters here haven't had a clear display of their power, but the audience is well aware of what they can do. We'll also be taking into account their reputation to ultimately kind of determine their rankings here. Now any villain in the Mortal Kombat franchise is kind of viable for this list here. They don't have to necessarily start off as a villain, but if they so happen to do change sides, they are in fact viable. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, this does affect people in the original timeline. Now for this list, I'm going to be throwing like power levels completely out of the window, because this is strictly based on their brutality and the reputation they've earned during their time in the Mortal Kombat universe. Even characters who are somewhat considered dead will feature on here. Now just before this video starts, I'd just like to say that this is my own personal list. I'm following it by my own criteria, so you guys yourself don't have to necessarily agree with everything I say here. And if that is the case, honestly do feel free in the comments below to put your own personal top 5s. It's always quite fun and cool to see other people's opinions on this topic, as Mortal Kombat has a very diverse roster of characters, and well, opinions change from people to people. Now on that note, let's actually get on to the video. At number 5 we have Quan Chi. Easily one of the strongest sorcerers in the Mortal Kombat franchise, Quan Chi is a very malevolent and sadistic villain, being responsible for the destruction of the Shira Ryu, the manipulation of Hanzo Hasashi, and the formation of the Deadly Alliance. This character certainly does have a lot of credibility to him, especially when you take into account the many people from Earthrealm that he had killed, and also being there to kill Liu Kang, at least in the old timeline. Although he's nowhere near as powerful in X as he was in 9, the psychological trauma he's probably caused towards many of Earthrealm's heroes must be quite terrible, having not only had many of them killed, but enslaved under his will, and whilst under his control, their evidence take on a much more villainous persona, acting very venomous and spiteful towards their old friend. He himself is a force that should be feared, since it seems like he had the ability to bring back anyone from the dead, including the ancient Sindel, who had been dead for eons. So Quan Chi's magic capabilities seem to be incredible, but there are signs of wear and tear. Now as I brought up earlier, from Mortal Kombat 9 onwards, Quan Chi is significantly weakened, and the main reason for that is because he wasn't only just getting old, but he was manipulating multiple revenants for an extremely long amount of time, and this must have physically tired him out, because as I'd mentioned in Mortal Kombat X, he is significantly weakened compared to Mortal Kombat 9, and nowhere near as strong as what he used to be. Of course I'll make an entire theory video about this, as some people kind of want to know a little bit more about what happened to Quan Chi, and I'll go a little bit more in depth there. But I'm not taking anything away from this character. On his best day, he's arguably one of the strongest characters in the Mortal Kombat franchise, and certainly one that should be feared. If it isn't his appearance, it certainly will be his fighting prowess. Now at number 4 we have the Chaos Cleric Havoc, one of the most underrated villains in the Mortal Kombat franchise. Havoc did a tremendous amount of damage in the Mortal Kombat X comics. He's the villain who I'd love to see return in a Mortal Kombat game, even as a main villain. He had a very cool design and had caused so much anarchy in the new timeline, it's actually quite incredible. Now normal Havoc from the original timeline wasn't anything too special. He had a very interesting character design and concept, but was never really fleshed out. You see, this is where the new timeline really did him justice. He wasn't just this agent of chaos anymore. He was a blood god slash cleric, being able to imbue people with the blood magic that had in fact made him so powerful. He was successful in manipulating the entirety of Mileena's army and orchestrate 2 massive battles in the comic. Through the manipulation of blood magic, he was able to control many of Mortal Kombat's main players. This had included the thunder god Raiden, who he in fact had wrapped around his thumb. His cunning manipulation and his endless deception really allowed this character to be fleshed out as not just this kind of background character, but a truly horrific villain, and someone who I'd arguably say is one of the best villains we've had in the Mortal Kombat franchise. The blood magic that he had acquired allowed him to reach god levels of power, which is in itself terrifying, but due to his deception, he most certainly held back in the comics. A very clear display of this blood magic was when he imbued Reiko with it, and he was able to go toe to toe with Ermac, Kotal Kahn, and Mileena at the same time. Although he didn't win, he was able to hold his own for a substantial amount of time, not taking anything away from Reiko, but without that blood magic, he would have died straight away. There wouldn't have been even a struggle. The extent of blood magic are left rather unknown, but it has a hunger to destroy and consume the lives of thousands. Again, I'll go back to the comics, where Reiko himself became a quote-unquote blood god and consumed hundreds, if not so thousands, of Mileena's and Kotal Kahn's army. And considering that Havoc was holding back for almost the entirety of the comic book series, we can only somewhat imagine the destructive capabilities that he would have, take into account that he would have also been in control of Shinnok's amulet at the time, and he would have just been extremely overpowered. overpowered. Havoc is a character that I can honestly say was done justice in the new timeline, and is someone that many characters should fear up to now, manipulating many of the main characters within the series and being one of the very few people to have in fact killed Hanzo Hasashi. Havoc has certainly made his mark on the franchise. Now at number 3 we have the fallen elder god Shinnok. What's more to say about this character? He's a fallen elder god and someone that was cast out and imprisoned to the Netherrealm. Why? Because the elder gods knew how dangerous Shinnok was. They kept him there with the hopes that he would never escape, but of course that eventually did happen. In the time before time, Shinnok rebelled against the elder gods, and this resulted in a massive battle, which resulted in many realms being destroyed and pure annihilation just ensuing upon any race that was unfortunate enough to be caught in the middle of it. It was truly a battle to behold, and Shinnok with his amulet makes him one of the most terrifying beings in the entirety of the Mortal Kombat franchise, having almost limitless power, but when he's separated from it, he isn't too terrifying. Now the reason why he ranks fairly high on this list is just due to the fact that the elder gods knew how powerful he was, that they had to take precautions in order to kind of keep him away, because they themselves feared what he could do, and anyone who can invoke fear in beings like that really do deserve a place here on this list. Now at number 2 we have Shao Kahn. Some of you might in fact be shocked, because as many of you do know, I think out of all the characters that I've covered and the many top 5 lists I've done, Shao Kahn has normally ranked at number 1 here, which must mean that number 1 must truly be something else. But back on the topic of Shao Kahn, much like Shinnok, what else is there to say about this character that I haven't already said? He's menacing, powerful, and has merged many realms of his own. He's truly something that should be feared, and you know what? He is feared. Being insanely powerful, Shao Kahn is a character that has been argued by many fans, but whether or not he's in fact a god, just due to kind of how broken he is. His threatening prowess and charisma is what allows him to be above Shinnok here. He's clearly a being that the elder gods had their eyes on, but weren't someone they were kind of able to confront till he broke the rules of Mortal Kombat. It's only up till then that they had to deal with him, and in saying that, he had a very strong showing against them. Shao Kahn has continued to show that he's one of the most badass villains in the Mortal Kombat franchise, and is someone who has invoked fear and despair in many of the mainstay characters within the series. Now at number 1 we have the Dragon King Onaga, as one of the strongest characters within the series, being able to resurrect countless undead warriors and bend them to his will. Onaga is truly terrifying. Now some of you may say he's roughly the same as Quan Chi, with the whole ability of resurrection. Although that might be true, Onaga isn't weakened by this. He in fact has had the ability to resurrect pretty much the entire cast without breaking a sweat, and was even able to control an entire undead army with complete ease. Onaga is said to have been a character that was the closest thing we've ever had to the One Being in the entire franchise. And for those of you who don't know what the One Being is, it was essentially the thing that was above the Elder God, something that was even stronger than them. Just to give you a rough idea of how ridiculously powerful he was, it took the combined strength of all of Earthrealm's heroes put in Shigenko in order to take him down, and even before that when he first died, I'm using air quotes with that, Shao Kahn knew that it was complete suicide to go toe to toe with him, and instead of fighting him in Mortal Kombat, he would poison the Dragon King. Now overall, the Dragon King is truly a being I'm looking forward to seeing in the next few games, and I can't wait to see what they do with him. I'm hoping the changes in the new one will allow him to be truly something special. But anyway, that's been it for this top 5s list, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and like I said at the very beginning, do let me know down in the comments below, who do you personally find most terrifying creatures in the Mortal Kombat franchise? Now since I've brought up the Elder Gods and the One Being, would you like to see a history of with those two? Because there is quite a lot of interesting information for them, and I'd happily make a video about it. Now I'd also like to say that tomorrow I'll be doing a top 5 guest characters I would love to see in Injustice 2, and talk about some very interesting stuff coming to the channel, Injustice 2 wise. I'd also like to remind you that we have another Tekken video this Saturday talking about Devil Jin and the Devil Jin itself. Should bring to light a lot of things that people want to know about the franchise if they want to catch up to it. Now before this video wraps up, if possible guys, let's try getting this video to roughly about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel as YouTube's adpocalypse is happening, and it would help out a ton. Now as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.